Danny Baker's Breakfast Show. Call 020 722 42000. Danny Baker on BBC London 94.9.
You're saying I'm playing this for you, don't you, Angie?
Yeah. Why are you playing it?
Because I couldn't find Candyman for a minute. I found it now. As soon as I find Candyman, we'll be back on track. But you looked as if you say, what have I done now?
Not for nothing, Dan, but why are you playing this record?
Oh, that's something I've forgotten about. We were going to do, in honour of Alistair being with us, we wanted people to call us. If you can do an impression of someone no one's ever heard of. Not an impression, no, I wouldn't lumber you with that.
I like that.
But I've done it, we've had some tremendous ones. I've done 2 or 3 shows in the past where people ring up and say, you don't know it, but I've got a friend of mine, and you're going to have to believe me, and they're always very amusing.
You were talking about teachers earlier on. One of my best impressions is of a teacher in London.
Go on.
Well, it's somebody I went to university with years ago called Colin Taylor, and he teaches, I can't remember the name of the school now, but he talks like that, and I think he teaches French to people, so if anybody recognises that, I think it's somewhere in North London that he teaches, and talks very quickly all the time, so if anybody recognises that impression, or is a student of it, what happens?
I knew Neil Spencer used to be the editor of the NME. Oh man, I used to be on one up in Northampton, man. He was with Paul Pie Hat. I was all over. Nobody knows him, but when I do it, I'm entertaining myself, and people can tell it's solid gold.
Well, my speciality, of course, is Glenn Van Bargen.
This is what I was getting to. Glenn Van Bargen. Just for the people joining us all the time, explain who Glenn is.
Well, Glenn, my dad's a plumber. He owns a plumbing business. He employed Glenn Van Bargen as one of the plumbers. He's not qualified in any way, but one time I lent him. I had to borrow $5 from him. Okay. Yeah. I forgot to pay him back, and I moved to England. And he has been harassing members of my family ever since. And he goes, hey, not for nothing, but next time you see your sister, will you tell her she owes me $5?
And that's the best Glenn Van Bargen in the business, by the way. That is the keynote of Glenn Van Bargen. So if you can do any of those, we have Alistair McGowan with us, certainly for the next 20 minutes or so, and if you could give us a call and knock his socks off by saying, yeah, your Beckham's good, but how about this? This is my mate Terry. If you can do impressions no one's ever heard of, 0207 224 2000. Here's Annie in Orpington. She's got to leave for school, but she wants to tell us about an eccentric. Where you go, Annie?
Good morning, Candyman.
Thank you very much indeed, Annie. What have you got for us, my friend?
Well, we had a teacher at secondary school called Mr. Hughes. For starters, he dressed in a beret, a mac, and sandals with socks.
Okay, I'm saying though that this is an individual lifestyle as opposed to being eccentric at the moment.
Yeah, but then it goes on really because he used to tell jokes.
Yeah.
And then he used to say, "You've got 60 seconds to laugh." And if you laugh beyond that, you're in trouble.
See, here's the way to keep a show moving, I'm saying, Alistair McGowan. In any live gigs, tell the audience 25 seconds
to laugh.
To actually register the laugh. And how did this work then? How did this work then, Annie? I mean, supposing the punchline of a joke was, leave off, that's my telescope.
Well, you'd have to, you've got to pull yourself together within 60 seconds.
Was it difficult to pull yourself
together?
Very
difficult.
Was it?
Yes, it was, because, it's just the whole temptation to carry on. But,
and did he time it?
Well, not exactly, but you knew you had to sort of get your act together quickly.
Has this carried on into your adult life, Annie? Do you now only laugh ever for 60 seconds no matter what you're watching?
I'm afraid not, but although having said I'm a teacher now myself, so I have to say the same thing. Now, come on.
Oh!
If someone sort of breaks wind in class, you have to say, well, come on now, I know it's funny, but...
I'm sorry. There can no way be a 60-second curfew on that. No. That goes way beyond 60 seconds.
I don't time it.
I'm sorry to say, but...
Anyway, that was the beginning.
Yeah.
And then when... it was the end of lesson. He used to say, right, girls, before you go, sit up. And you used to have to stick your chest out, and if you didn't, you couldn't go.
Okay, now we're getting into perhaps a seamier side of the story. Amy has just rolled her eyes.
Well, this sort of went on, because we used to see him in the co-op, and he used to be choosing his grapefruit. And he was squeezing them in such a way that it related to the chest.
Eddie, believe me, the rest writes itself. You to see this teacher after this teacher said, chest out, or you can't go, you would later see him buying grapefruits in supermarkets. I'm saying the butterfly nets have got to be out. We've got to hunt this man down before
in 60 seconds.
And as a teacher yourself, do you have a nickname? Are you eccentric yourself, Annie?
Well, I expect you don't know it yourself, do you? But I'm sure. Well, when the little kids are playing, in playtime, they tend to be me.
They what?
On a Friday afternoon, they have a bit of playing time.
Yeah.
They want to play at teachers, and they be me.
Oh, they become you.
Sitting there holding a book up and sort of pointing at people
and being you.
Yeah, being me.
And one last thing here, a Mountain Goat has put on the screen here. Yes. This teacher called everyone by the same name.
Everyone was called Belinda Jane, and that backfired on him because a girl in my class threw an egg at the blackboard when he was writing. He had a cookie basket.
Did you grow up in a bunter?
And it dropped and landed on his head. Well, she legged it out of the room, and he tried to follow her, couldn't find her, but of course he couldn't trace her because everyone was Belinda Jane to him, so he never did find out who it was that did.
This really does. I'm thinking we're going right to the top of the shop here. A teacher who calls everyone Belinda Jane is seen squeezing grapefruits in supermarkets and wears a beret. I'm sorry, there's no more damning evidence. Your witness, no further questions. 02072242000. Now, Alistair's going to be with us, and he will be judging anyone who wants to ring up and do impressions of people we've never heard of, because we've already had Glenn Van Bargen, we've had your friend there,
Colin Taylor.
Colin, of course, we've had Neil Spencer from the Enemy. But you are here, of course, to want to talk about trees.
Yes.
Does it lead itself into what sounds like exciting radio? But believe me, we're going to parlay this up into something as soon as we come back. Away you go, chomping at the bit. Alistair McGowan's with us, thinking, oh, come on, Gary, get that profile just up a bit more, because
nice if Gary did that a bit and was a bit more, he's got the sort of vocal abilities of Dave Bassett, who I'm sure you know, Dave, Danny, who has that same sort of thing, doesn't he, Dave Bassett?
Except Gary's got opinions. Alistair's with us to talk about Trees for London. Let's hit this hard. Now, come on, but what's the deal with Trees for London?
Does exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
10 years old, a charity, embarking on a huge project of getting more, on getting more trees into London, and they've done very well so far. They've got 43,000 trees planted in the last 10 years. Their aim with other organisations is to get 1 million trees planted in London by 2010.
Well, it's
going well.
Amy was talking about this on Monday, and she said there's something like 2,000 in Lewisham, which is close by to where I live.
Yeah.
It's almost an invisible blessing, because I haven't noticed this, and so it's. How many did you say there? It's quite a piece of work.
Well, 43,000, and they want to get 1 million in the next 10 years with other organisations.
How comes you got webbed up with it?
I'm a very keen environmentalist, and I just love trees and love London, but do, like anybody else, notice the lack of greenery around. It's one of the greenest cities in Europe, certainly, but there's whole areas where there's no trees, nothing, and trees bring such benefit to the city. And I just read about them and thought it was a fantastic organisation. It's a voluntary organisation, people can join.
But how much red tape is there involved in saying to a council, can we put some trees up in the shopping centre?
I don't know. I'm a patron, but one of the other patrons is Dermot Gavin, from the garden programs. Oh, absolutely. And Dermot does a lot more than I do. He'll go out and actually have the communities plant the trees. But it's great, people can just call Trees for London and say we would want more trees in this area, we want to improve this area, and they will do their utmost to do it, along with the community organisation or with schools. And it's a fantastic
I hate to be, again, a cloud across the sun here, because it's not the nature of the show to do it, but the last person who demanded 1 million trees for the city was Adolf Hitler in Berlin, and that's a fact, Jack. He was extraordinary. As we know, I know the thing about Hitler being a vegetarian, but he also did that campaign. He said 1 million trees in Berlin. They all said, look what happened there, is all I'm saying. In no way am I comparing the two organisations. It's just a little anecdotal.
If anybody wants to join our party, the organisation,
having a push next Wednesday.
But one thing that they do, which is very good, and I've done it for a few people, is you can sponsor a tree, and it's a great present for somebody. If you get to our age and you think, what do I buy my friend who I bought everything for? £15, sponsor a tree. It's your tree, wherever you like, in London. And
that is something, isn't it?
It's a fantastic
and do you have one yourself?
I do, yeah. I've got one, and I've already got 3 or 4 different friends. I think Ronnie Ancona's got one that I sponsored for her.
Of course, once your friends know which tree, it does lead to high jinx amongst males, so perhaps,
possibly.
It's always good to keep it close to your chest, I believe.
Yes.
Off the air, we were talking about, which is... it's occupational hazard is putting it too lightly. The bane of any impressionist life is the idea that you don't have a real voice yourself, and you're saying quite often people will say to you, I'm not getting this one, who are you supposed to be? And you are just trying to buy a newspaper, yeah?
Yeah, or they'll say, go on now, do it in the voice. It's nearly always David Beckham. People just say, give me a quick Beckham.
It is both the, your gift and your millstone, the Beckham thing, because he doesn't look like he's going to go away anytime soon, which is good for business.
Yeah, I suppose so, really.
And yet, of course, I suppose everywhere, do people demand impressions out of you?
Yeah, it started off years ago when it was always Trevor Brooking. It was always Trevor Brooking, which I don't really do it nowadays because you don't see Trevor so much on the old Gogglebox, really, but that was the one. And it's usually how things change, and then it started to be Hanson, because again I was still doing a lot of football stuff, so it was Hanson. Then I remember the first time somebody said to me, "Do your Chris Tarrant," and I thought, "Oh my God, I've made it."
Yeah,
I've broken away from football.
Yeah, but you mentioned off the air again the spitting image and stuff. So that was a kind of voiceover work. Did you ever presume you're going to make the leap to primetime BBC One entertainer, doing what you do?
I always hoped so. Yeah. I think probably everyone on the programme did. And I joined just after Steve Coogan, when he was there doing his last few years. He'd left. Harry Enfield had done it, and he'd left. And it seemed like everybody who worked on spitting image, Chris Barry, went on to do massive things. So I was hoping that was.
Although the impressionist thing is rather like a magic act in terms, it seems to go in kind of waves, and they'll be like yourself, but it's never going to be like being a pop singer where there's always the chance that someone's going to be a very famous impressionist, is there?
No, well, I think you have to wait. That's the thing, and that's my fear at the moment with the way things are going on television. There are a lot of shows suddenly which are doing impressions. I was going to say down to Bo Selector. I don't mean that in terms of
I know what you mean,
quality, but something like that. It's like everybody's doing them, and the thing is, you have to wait. I think there's a period of waiting for a new swathe of people to come through.
Yeah.
And we were lucky when we did our show that Rory had been on for a long time, and he was doing mainly politicians, but nobody had really done, the sort of people that we then began to do. And as I say, people like Dermot Gavin, it takes a little while for people like that to come through.
Who are you working on right now? Is this? It must be difficult to watch a programme at face value because you think, oh, that's a good tip. That's a good.
I'm not actually at the moment. We work so hard when the series is on. I start writing it for the last 3 years. I've started writing in September, and we work right through to May, doing nothing but writing, rehearsing, recording the show. So between May and September, I tend to do very little.
Good for you. I was all day yesterday, and on days like this, why not?
Exactly.
Do you do the act live?
Not so much now. Very, very rarely.
It must be tough because given the makeup and the electronic stuff that goes into people, are people prepared just to hear somebody stand up and go? And I think it goes a little bit like this: ruff of the hair and turn round again. That was the old-fashioned style, wasn't it? Yeah,
that's right. And they are to a certain extent, because what I've always done when I've done stand-up, and hopefully in the show as well, is to put something of myself into it, put something of my own views on whatever it might be. It might be across. So it's not just a question of here's a funny voice, here's a funny voice.
No.
And if it is, then I think you do definitely need live all the wigs and makeup and glasses that go with it. But if I can say this is something I've noticed, and if so-and-so said it would sound like this without being quite so bland about it.
And of course you must have your very own celeb deck going on constantly, mustn't you? Because, I do a pretty good Brian Walden. I'm not going to do it again, because I'll do a pretty good Brian Walden. And yet, of course, nobody's heard of Brian Walden anymore, which is a great shame.
Oh, yeah, a couple of series ago, I was doing Louis Theroux, and, Louis was everywhere. And then we thought, shall we do him again, this series? And we couldn't do him because he wasn't on the telly
exactly.
anymore.
These wretches. I've got 2 or 3, as we know. I do a very good Alec Guinness as Fagin in David Lean's. It's very good, but it's not got that. It's not going to get me to the Opera House with Jackie Mason just walking on there, and going, "It would be worse for some than others, my dears, if he should peach." See that in 1958, that would have got me a huge round of applause.
But the obscure ones, I know we're going to get some in a minute. But the obscure ones are the ones that are fun to do, and yet, as you say, no one really. There's an actor called Matthew McFadden who does lots of things on TV like spooks and things at the moment, and I can do a vague sort of impersonation of him, which I think is quite good.
It is very good. But you have to say first, why? Who's this coming down the lane?
He comes from such and such,
Hang on, here's Sue in Queen's Park. Sue, good morning, Sue.
Hello, good morning, Danny.
Thank you very much indeed. I'll give you £1 off the licence fee for that, even though you're being generous this morning with it. Now, Sue, what you rang in for what? What is it?
Well, I was on my way to work when I heard the impersonation of somebody that nobody's ever heard of, but I have a feeling I've heard of him and that I work with him.
Who's this person again?
Colin Taylor.
Now, you see, here's an extraordinary thing. Only on BBC London 94.9 will you get this. Normally, when you're off to Jonathan Show or you're doing Radio 2 or whatever you're doing, Alistair, they'll be saying, and David Beckham's been in the news recently, hasn't he? Here, we're talking about someone no one's ever heard of, and it seems to be Alistair's greatest hit.
It must be quite good then, because if you recognised it, because there's a lot of people called Colin Taylor around. It's quite a common name, actually. Taylor's the 4th commonest surname in the country. Did you know that?
That's incredible. It's like I'm talking to Colin Taylor. That is amazing.
Well, if you will, it would take a lot longer than this, I can tell you that.
Well, no, he does actually speak faster than you, and he uses extremely long words to bamboozle the kids as well.
Does he? Now,
stuns them into submission.
So when you heard this Colin Taylor this morning, and we are dealing with, Alistair McGowan here, we're not giving some raw kid a break. However, However, it is extraordinary, isn't it, that people, the ones that are just aimed at individuals out there, seem to really strike home, and that's when you think he must be some kind of witch. That sounds exactly like him, does it?
Yeah, I thought that sounds like Colin Taylor before the name Colin Taylor was mentioned, and I tell you what, it is a blinding impression of Colin Taylor, because I've just been on a school trip with him, and I've had a long time to listen to him.
You see, I'm not...
Where did we go?
We went to Barcelona. 27 hours on a coach listening to Colin Taylor is a long time.
It's an interesting city, Barcelona, Colin. I should imagine it is, isn't it?
Well, it is, and we've got the Dali, haven't you? And
that's perfect. I can't believe it.
Stuff, you know, so.
If you've got friends you want Britain's leading impressions to do just for you, give us a call.
I've managed to find Colin. I'm going to pass him over.
Oh, you're joking?
I've got him next to me. Hold on.
You haven't? Oh, no, this is unfair. This is...
He's going to give me a hard time about ringing him. Oh, God, he's here.
Good morning, Colin.
Hello.
Hi, Colin.
I've never heard you be so monosyllabic, Colin.
No, this is very... I was going to say, this is really quite embarrassing. How surprising. Here I am. It's like having my own double sticking to me before me. Rather... I thought, I bet it's Alistair. He's been doing me since I was 18.
But the biggest irony of all is
and typically that he does me without me even knowing. It takes somebody who I work with to come and tell me, oh, you're being done on the radio.
The biggest irony is that Colin was actually taught at school by somebody called Alistair McGowan, wasn't he?
I was indeed. My favourite English teacher was somebody called Alistair McGowan. So it was almost before we even knew each other. We might have known this would happen. I was sitting there thinking, I haven't spoken to Alistair for a while. It's about time we got in touch. And there we go. We get in touch on the London radio in the morning. I'll have all the kids coming up to me now saying, oh, sir, we heard somebody doing you.
Well, the best story is that Colin used to teach in Italy, in Bologna, didn't you, in Venice? And that all the teachers...
Who am I talking to now?
No, I don't know whether you're talking to the real one or the... no, that's not the real one.
I
don't call myself Colin, I call myself me.
All these Italian children ended up speaking like this really quickly in a vague Scouse accent.
See, I'm going to have to put my hand on your forehead and say, Colin, I'd like to speak to Alistair now. Well, thank you very much indeed, whoever that was, in whichever looking glass we were going through at the time. So there you see, instant results. He could have come in and just winged that and said, oh, this fellow I know who speaks, with a hiccup in his voice. But no, I think we heard one of the most spooky conversations in radio history. That is what Marconi had in mind when he legged it down the patent office. Here is Brendan in Stoke Newington. Now, he won't be able to come in here. Brendan?
Morning, Candyland.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, Brendan, you see, I've always thought there is something in this. We've got the stars in your eyes, and of course, you've got the myriad shows that Alistair does. But getting members of the public to do impressions of people nobody else has ever heard of is the iron horse of British broadcasting, as far as I'm concerned. You're going to enter this, aren't you, Brendan?
Absolutely. Well, there's a tough act to follow, Danny.
No, don't worry, because it doesn't matter what you do. You know it's right. Now, who are you going to do for us this morning, Brendan?
Well, right, today for you, Danny, and all the listeners, this is going to be Bob Marshall.
Yeah.
He was a chief flyman at the Apollo Theatre some 25, 30 years ago.
Okay, Bob Marshall, chief fireman at the Apollo Theatre, and you're not Bob, are you? You wouldn't be...
I am not Bob Marshall.
You're not Bob. So what we're about to hear, no matter how much you're convinced otherwise, is actually Brendan doing Bob Marshall, the fire warden at the Apollo Theatre. And off you go.
Thank you. Hey, when you're up here on my flag gallery, hey, you do as I say. I'm king up here. Okay, I'm
come
king
on,
of the flag
come
gallery.
on, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Seriously, it is just you there, isn't it?
Absolutely. That was Bob Marshall. That is the best impression of Bob Marshall, the chief flyman to a T.
Well, see, there it is. Who could dispute it? Now, in the next half hour, even after Alistair's had to skedaddle, their doors are always open for listeners who want to ring in and say, my sister-in-law is very amusing, actually, and she talks a little bit like this. We want plenty of impressions of people no one have ever heard of. But that was an extraordinary moment, was it, being faced there?
I thought she played it very well, too, to pretend she knew him, which she did, and then to hand over that.
That was
very well played.
And, of course, it leads us inevitably to a bit of a sore of a question, Alistair, but how do people react to you? Do they, through gritted teeth, say, yeah, I've seen it? It's very funny, actually, because it's not just about the impressions, it's about the script and the inference as well.
Yeah, well, you're picking up on people's little tics, that's the thing, and the majority of them are fine about it, but I know I spoke to Gary Lineker a long time ago, and he said that he tried to change the way he spoke and the way he moved his eyes, particularly, because he thought he got really self-conscious about it, because I was doing what he did, so he thought, oh, screw it, I'll change it.
Have you heard through the grapevine that anyone, is affronted or offended? Have you ever read that?
I've heard various things that Lawrenson isn't too happy about it, because, you know, we do pick up on little things that he does. And,
I'll tell you something off the air. I'll tell you something. It doesn't surprise me, that particular choice of nemesis.
We did that thing about him saying it at the Merman recently, and...
Well, if ever the showbiz circles move around that I hasten back into the showbiz firmament, you know, I would be honoured, as you know, and I know you may have even lent towards that with Spit and Image before. But just in the meantime, let's head again while you're here this morning, because you've given us enough. You've sawn off enough.
They're sawn off enough. The Trees for London charity, 10 years old today, and planting trees in London need your help as well. If you want to give it, they welcome anybody.
What can they do? What can people do?
People can turn up on these days. If they go to the website, sadly it's always websites these days, isn't it? But www.treesforlondon.org, surprisingly, and they can find out if they want to go along to a planting day where people just get together and just, you know, it's almost like ground force in a way, I suppose. You're improving areas. You can just turn up and help plant trees for London. And
the target is 1 million, yeah?
Target's 1 million, yeah, but obviously just one at a time. There are other things that they do too. One thing which may interest a lot of people is that they also do vocational training for long-term unemployed Londoners. In horticulture and tree works and things.
It is www.treesforlondon.org. And now, in the manner of your friend Colin, would you say a phrase which means a lot to people around it? Away you go, Ola, as Colin.
Away you go, Ola.